Welcome to Bitstorm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Ben Slinger, and with me, as always, is Trevor Scott.
Hello.
This week, I think we're going to continue with last week, where we sort of just mix it up a bit. We've got these different sources of random words now all in our little Discord bot, so we might pull some ramped-up click pitch. We might pull some, 3 words? Maybe we'll jump into our sneaky little movie or something. Let's just see how it goes.
Yeah. That's pretty much it.
But let's start with some ramped up click pitch.
So ramped up click pitch is a game where we each click on 3 to 1 click. We each click on our random word generator Discord bot. We get 2 words. We get an adjective and a noun. We throw them at each other. We combine those 2 words to make a 4-word sandwich, and that 4-word sandwich turns into a game design. And then when that game design doesn't work, then we throw it all away and we start again with that or something new.
Yeah, once it reaches its natural conclusion and we've wrung all the sandwich juice out of it to stretch that metaphor, we'll go on to something else. All right, let's do it. 3, 2, 1, click.
Stimulating iron.
Okay, grey gold.
Ooh, I've just got this image of like a stylistic sort of black and white survival game where you're sort of going through a gold rush sort of thing, and it's got that sort of the different old timey filters, so you can have sepia, you can have just pure black and white.
Return of the Obra Dinn kind of way. Yep.
Yeah, but not in a grainy sort of way. I think in a high def black and white, and it's almost cinematic. I like the idea of a gold rush, so it's set in the 1800s, but it's like a survival sort of game in that sort of time period.
I do like the idea of a survival game based around the gold rush. Like that sort of adds that extra little bit of it of maybe starting off panning for gold, and whether you on your own or team up with others to then mine. Once you find a good vein, and now it's time to actually build that mine, dig into the earth, mine carts through the earth.
I know that you said grey gold, but I kind of would like to separate that. So grey and iron and stimulating, that sort of stuff sort of gave me the idea. But then gold, I kind of like the idea that if you find gold, it pops out on the screen, like to the point that you actually see like a metallic gold. So it's your kind of gold sense of if you find gold, that it's gold because it pops with the colour. I
like that idea of... Yeah, I wonder how much it would work if, literally the whole game is in black and white until you see gold. Like, gold's literally the only colour that comes through, or if it's just that most of the game is more desaturated and muted.
And there's a filter on that little gold range.
Yeah, exactly. It's just anything specifically that's gold has a different shader on it or something that lets it come through, or however that would work technically. But that's cool because, I definitely like that. You're mining through the earth. I'm sort of picturing a, deformable terrain situation.
Your sort of Deep Rock Galactic sort of.
Yeah, I think so. I wonder if there's a good challenge in making it more difficult to mine, like as closer to how difficult it actually is to like dig a tunnel through rock, where you're having to utilize dynamite and explosives and stuff to really dig it out further. So it's instead of just get your pickaxe and start banging away at the thing, it's like, no, maybe you use the pickaxe for a while to sort of dig out a little cavern to shape the explosion, but then it's drill a hole, shove a stick of dynamite in there and run, and then come back and pick up all the rubble.
Yeah. What I do like though is that it is that 1800s technology. So like the drill is like a hand drill sort of thing. I'm thinking this would actually work really well in VR.
Okay.
In the way that a black and white. I played Wilson's Heart, and that's got a lot of atmospheric sort of stuff. It's all in black and white, but you really feel, kind of, you're in some sort of noir mystery, and it adds to the whole thing. I think the idea of it being, a game where the way that you can literally show to the player, you have a keen eye for where gold is, because you can literally see gold pop on the screen, because it's the only thing that actually pops.
Yeah.
It's almost that your character is also so focused on finding gold that anything that looks slightly like gold, like he's going to be able to, pick that out instantly. Can you get
taken by like fool's gold? You come across. Does that look the same to you?
Yeah, it doesn't have the same. Like, you see the color, but it's like just a yellowy color. It's not as shiny. It's not.
I like that can be a distraction then. That you find a vein of fool's gold. What actually is fool's gold? It was just a less. Oh, there you go. It's pyrite. It's an iron sulfide.
Yeah, simulating iron.
There you go. That's perfect. Yeah. So yeah, no, I like that. And so, do you think this is just a single player game then, or do you think there's something to be done here with?
I think you can maybe have like a Satisfactory-esque sort of multiplayer where you can have up to 4 people in co-op, but the majority of the time it's just a single player sort of thing. You're effectively trying to survive, keep everything going, and don't have that mind collapse.
Yeah. So we said survival. Are we talking
canaries? Okay, you have to take the canary down in the cage, and
you don't want to hit like gas pockets, or you have to be able to get enough oxygen down there. I guess, are we talking full on like hunger and thirst style systems, or
I think there is, but it's not to the point where it takes up the entire gameplay that
it's more that you can't spend 3 days down in the mine.
Yeah.
Like you have to come up to rest and eat.
I kind of like the Minecraft day-night cycle. Seems pretty good.
Just the timing.
You spend a lot of time in the day, not much time at night. But
you can kind of, if you've built beds and stuff, you can sleep till the morning.
Yeah,
as long as you've protected yourself from the gold goblins. No, I think we stay away from that.
The gold goblins didn't come to this earth until 1940. They're not here in the 1800s.
Oh, yeah. That's right. That was the whole Roswell thing as well. There's actually a gold vein under Roswell that they specifically
giving away all the secrets now. I told you this in confidence.
I forgot that was under a gag order.
God, 3-1 click.
Never mind.
You can't be trusted.
Escape. Yeah, cut out that last bit, Ben. That's a reminder to myself. All right, 3, 2, 1, click. Covered cheer.
Interactive nuisance. Clippy?
Yeah. Yeah. I think we've done Clippy based games before, but we could do a Clippy. Where does covered cheer come into it? I was going to say, is this a Clippy style AR helper? It's a VR game, and we essentially have a fake AR helper that comes up and helps you with conversations.
So, does he know that you're in a VR game?
No. It's more as if within this world, if you go out to the bar and like you meet someone and start talking to them, then this fucking little thing will come up in the corner of your vision saying, "Hey, it looks like you're trying to have a conversation."
Oh no! Oh, and it's implanted in everyone.
Yeah, or maybe, or it's just like, or it's some sort of this is here we go. This is where covered cheer kind of comes in. This is a world where extroversion is lauded, like is celebrated, and being an introvert is not acceptable.
So, in other words, we are not accepted there.
No, we would definitely have these implants. Basically, if you don't meet your
Conversation
your quota.
Conversation quota. I really love how those two words just mash together. Conversation quota.
Your conversation quota, exactly. If you don't meet your quota, then like you've got a few strikes, and then eventually you get implanted with this because it's like, no, you need help being a social part of society, which is the only thing that matters.
Okay, what I would love is if, you hit your quota for the day and the Clippy-like character just, has like a party popper and you sort of cheers, and it's like, it's the worst sort of celebration. But I'm imagining in-game, they actually just release a whole heap of, like, happy chemicals into
endorphins or something,
endorphins and all this sort of stuff. And, it's kind of like if you
so
follow
it literally
along,
becomes like a drug. So, like, it's more of your incentive to follow this. Okay, and so then is the gameplay essentially attempting to fight back against this, essentially, like, controlling society?
I think the AI, you get electrocuted or something like that, and the AI becomes self-aware in your head, and basically, helps you sort of get out.
Okay, I like the idea more of, because I like having to initially work around the AI itself. Like, you do have to participate in these conversations, and like it'll give you penalties if you only stick with the usual small talk, like, or reuse the same questions or different things. So like literally the start of the game can be, you go to a bar and you have to end up talking to at least 3 people, and we just essentially give the exposition of what's going on through the conversation and through your little Clippy thing of why you have that and what the society's like. And then, you reach your quota, you can leave, you go home, and I don't know whether you're then talking to people online or doing other things that then sort of give you this idea of, like there's actually this resistance against it of people trying to figure out how to get past it, how to hack it.
What I kind of want is that you get to the end of the game and you've had this, you grow this relationship with this Clippy character to a point where when the final choice comes, when you can either remove the implant and Clippy goes away forever.
Yep.
Or you keep the implant, but like it's doing some damage to you and you've only got a small amount of time left. But you get to spend it with your new best friend, who is like this new self-aware, like, Clippy character. Like
the Clipster.
Because I think that if you played that right, it could be an agonizing decision that you don't want to.
Yeah,
you don't want to let this go.
No, I like that. Here's how I think it goes. You've got that exposition scene where you're just having to follow along. You've got the scene at home where you start learning. Oh, there's like a resistance. There's people trying to hack this thing, and then someone. Either you find or comes out through the chats, or maybe someone specifically sends it to you. There's a hack for it, and you can and you do it. Basically, you hack your Clippy, but yes, the result is that essentially it becomes more self-aware to the point that and it will now help you. Now, what I think you do here is you shift it up a bit. Part of the capabilities of this AI when it was in its, just helping out introverts form, it can monitor people's emotions that you're talking to. It can understand what they're saying. And the idea was to help you give conversation. But now that it's working for you, you can fucking social engineer people.
Yep.
You're getting information about, are they lying? You know, what, you know, different little micro expressions and stuff that it's reading on their face, to help you then.
Effectively, you've turned it into like the D&D version of like sense motive sort of things of, you know, you can now read people's emotions directly on their face, because Clippy will actually say, that guy's lying. He just lied to your face. Are you going to let that slide?
Yeah, well, that's it. I think you give it a real personality, then it starts getting indignant about people doing the wrong thing to you.
Well, I kind of like the idea that, you know, it's this thing where it's a relationship sort of built up over time, and whether it's a hack or whether it's, you know, something that accidentally happens to your implant where it gets damaged somehow, like you're in an accident and like, you know, when they're shocking your heart back to life, you know, that's when it.
Yeah, or maybe it's a combination of the two.
Yeah,
because I do like the sort of, you know, underground. Because actually, I love the idea of an introvert resistance. Because to break
they
out,
just stay in. They literally just stay inside. Like,
well, no, but I love that they literally have to get out and like talk to each other to organize. I mean, this is obviously a extreme, you know, stereotype of introverts that I'm talking about here, but just in the general sense of
you're talking to two introverts and they're recording episode 228 of their podcast. Like, introverts can get out and do stuff.
Of course. But if we're doing it in this sort of black and white version of this world, you know, polarized in that way, that yes, the introverts having to get out, you could even potentially have it that like that it was the AI had actually got smart enough to pretend, like, to essentially fool the introverts into thinking they were resisting, because that would result in them getting out and meeting each other and having proper conversations.
Oh.
Like, the whole thing was a ruse the entire time.
Oh my god.
I don't know how you'd pull that off, but
well, I swear, if Clippy was played by Ted Danson, he could pull it off, because you know, Ted Danson pulled off the best
Good Place style.
Good Place style. Like, just laughs out of nowhere. It was great.
Even without that twist, I think Ted Danson's a pretty good pull for the voice of Clippy in a game like this.
Oh, hell yeah. And we're just saying Clippy so everyone understands what Clippy is.
No, it would have its own name. We don't want Microsoft to come after us for trademark violations, especially given the stuff Clippy will be doing. What do you think this Clippy does during sex? Does it help with dirty talk? It looks like you're trying to please your partner.
Say this. Go on. Say it. Who's a naughty boy?
Ask her if she wants it.
Did you get consent?
Ask her again. All right. That's really cool, though. I like that. That's fun. Okay.
3, 2, 1 movie.
3, 2, 1 movie. All right. So this is where we get a random movie, an actual movie, but depending on whether we've seen it or not, or just how well it fits into a game design, we may either make, you know, what would be the official movie game tie-in for that movie, or we might just use the name or description as a prompt for a game. So, Trevor, what movie did you get?
2017's Arsenal. After the deadbeat brother of a businessman is assumed to be on his own kidnapping, his sibling must take action to rescue him.
Okay, I got 2013's Stoker, which I've never heard of. It has Nicole Kidman in it. After India's father dies, her Uncle Charlie, who she never knew existed, comes to live with her and her unstable mother. She comes to suspect this mysterious, charming man has ulterior motives and becomes increasingly infatuated with him.
Ooh, that's kind of like a, you know, one of those thrillers like Hand the Rock to the Cradle sort of, you bring a stranger into your life and you just don't know what's going on. I really like that.
How could that work in a game setting? Even if we just take that general idea of a stranger coming in with unknown motives.
Okay, so I suppose the question is, do we see this as like a point and click adventure game, or do we see this as like a hands-on interactive adventure game? Because either way, it's going to be an adventure game, but
I think it has to be first person, whether that's VR or not.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a big part of it is in the facial expressions.
Yep.
We'll have to have some good animation in there.
Some good mocap.
And also just the general demeanor of someone, like they walk into the room while you're doing something and say something. Like if you do it in the right way, you can make it come across as maybe innocent, but also could be really creepy and weird.
Yeah. And it really depends on the frame of mind that you're in. Like, I'm trying to think of something that everyone would actually know rather than a Friends movie that he created.
Yeah, you just mean setting up the tone of it. Setting up the tone,
and basically, depending on your character's state of mind, depends on how they even, react to what's being said. Like, effectively, you could actually have like a conversation with your sick mother, and she says, that Uncle Charlie or whatever his name was came in and was having a lovely conversation, but then when she looks back at
wanted to make sure she drank the medicine that he'd got for her.
Yeah,
which if you suspect that he's trying to like kill her or keep her sick or something, then that's going to sound very different than if you think he's just innocently trying to make sure she gets better.
And I think you could actually play around with, depending on the choices that you say to someone, you could almost get an idea as to what the player is actually thinking. And basically moving the needle to like.
Oh, so you think you actually try to specifically change things to make them seem more sinister if you think that's the way the player is heading?
From what I remember, you can convey a lot of tone just with color. Like, So all you have to do is you can say the same sentence but change the color grade just slightly, and you will kind of instinctively take it in a different way. If it's ambivalent enough, it's like ambiguous enough, I should say.
I very much like the idea of playing with that. I wonder if you play with seeing scenes from multiple perspectives.
Yep.
But keep the differences fairly subtle. So yes, I think you have color grade differences, but I think you do alternate line reads. And obviously you need quite a good, actors who are quite good
at emoting through voice.
At emoting subtly through voice, so they can keep the changes fairly subtle, but you can read the intent if you are in that state of mind.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know if it's that you have the characters relate it back and it sort of plays back in a memory, or if you're literally playing through some of these scenes from the different, either maybe the daughter and the mother. I don't think you want to play as the Uncle Charlie, because I think obviously that's whose intentions we want to be ambiguous.
I kind of like the idea that there's sort of your three characters. You've got the mother, you've got her daughter, and then I think you've got then her daughter. So you've got the three generations.
Okay.
Seeing.
But still Uncle Charlie's coming.
And it's still Uncle Charlie. So it's...
Right.
You get
it's the sister... Sort of, it's the brother of the sick mother, but her mother is also there?
Well...
Or it's the grandmother that's sick?
So I think it's... Yeah, the grandmother is the sick mother. Then you've got...
Oh, I see.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
But
so you've got
uncle,
three
it's-
generations, but it's...
It's the mid generation that the uncle's from, or the
No, the top.
Oh, the top. So it's the mother's brother and his
Or brother-in-law
great niece
sort of thing. So maybe she's been estranged from her sister, and this guy comes in saying that he married into the family and all this sort of stuff, and she seems to remember a wedding that happened, but like her sister had died quite a while ago, and so it's
I like that. Then okay, that's cool because I like the idea of a scene where you're playing from the grandmother's point of view first, and she's looking at photos from that wedding.
Yeah.
And I don't think you've got any, like, real close-ups of the guy, but you've got enough. And you can see, like, oh, yeah, like, that's him.
Yeah.
But then you look at those same photos. Maybe it's not the same scene over again. Maybe it's just at a different point you come across those photos as one of the other characters.
And you notice a scar that isn't there on
even not even that. Even just that it's changed slightly enough that it's not obvious that it's him. They have similarities.
Yeah.
But it's enough to cast doubt.
Yeah.
And with the idea being that, like, the grandmother is essentially convincing herself, or it's far enough in the past, or like
confirmation bias sort of thing.
She wants confirmation bias. She wants to believe.
She wants to believe, so therefore it's actually true.
So really, revealing that through these different perspectives in that way, and not even signposting it necessarily for the player.
Yeah, and each characters could already have a slightly different color palette anyway.
Yes.
On how they view the world, like I'm picturing that the grandmother / mother character, sees it through more warm color tones and Audrey. Yep, I like that.
Just so we've got some names.
Daughter Nicole.
Sure.
Like the youngest daughter. So
the youngest daughter. Yep.
So the granddaughter of Audrey.
And I think Nicole's kind of got a more saturated, brighter palette, at least to start with. Yeah.
Whereas I think the grandmother has like a warmth, but also slightly
a bit more muted.
Yeah, a bit more muted, but still warm colours.
Yes.
But then
Janet
has sort of a coldish sort of...
Yeah, it's like harsher colours, darker.
But it comes from the fact that she was also in the military and has experienced war.
I think...
Yeah, you don't have to bring it in.
I think she's definitely she's had trauma, right?
Yeah.
Like, she's had a history that's made her somewhat bitter, somewhat jaded. So she's definitely the one who's most suspicious.
I just love the idea of being able to go through, say, chapter 1, you go through, you're playing as the older grandmother, and then chapter 3, you come back to that same scene as now,
but from a different perspective,
the granddaughter, and you're seeing that scene play out as the granddaughter, and it kind of plays out a little bit differently. But in this game, you can't go back and
you can't just compare them directly.
No, you have to kind of...
You're relying on the player's
on your
memory and
own
perspective.
memory and...
Yes. Yeah, I like that a lot, of jumping around a bit so that you do see those same scenes from different perspectives, but not immediately one after the other. Because then you can bring in a lot of subtle differences.
No. So it's sort of like... It's set up in different chapters. I'm thinking, 15 chapters, I know it seems a lot, but it's basically 5 each.
5 each. Yeah.
I think 5 chapters. It's effectively what you're doing is you are actually playing through each of the 5 scenes 3 times.
Yeah,
just
probably.
From different points
I think
of view.
You don't obviously necessarily have them start and end at the same point because you have different entrances and exits, but you overlap at certain points with those other stories.
And then you have an epilogue that sort of brings it all together as to,
So do you think, though, that do you jump around between characters, or do you play each character all the way through?
I think you jump around a little bit between characters, and sort of whether you bring them... It may be that you sort of play through the first chapter and then you play through, the next chapter, and you start in a different place, but somewhere through that chapter, it's going to overlap with Uncle Charlie somewhere from that first scene.
Well,
so
I think
it's
and
always
look, it
going
doesn't
forward in time.
It doesn't have to even be even. I think it's in that, like, you could play. Well, it can't always be going forward in time. In that, you need to overlap the scenes somewhat.
Yeah. So when I say when it's always going forward in time, I'm talking
You
about
mean for a particular character.
After 3 chapters, it then goes forward in time, and you're now playing a different character each time.
I mean, so much of that is going to come down to the writing, really. Like, you'd probably have to shift that. Like, I could see it happening that, like, for this time frame, you actually only end up playing as 2 characters because it only makes sense to show those perspectives. And then, like, in the midsection, or even that, like, you play Nicole's, first chapter, and that's actually set 3 weeks into the main storyline, but then when you start Audrey's chapter, it's starting, 3 weeks earlier than that, and so it's not actually until the second Janet chapter that it overlaps with that first Audrey chapter, do you know what I mean? So that you can kind of separate those out in time a bit as well.
Yeah, and you don't have to bring in Charlie for all of them. Like, you could bring him in the middle. No. Like, effectively, you're going through, I'm thinking that Audrey's maybe got a little bit of dementia, that sort of stuff, so maybe you could play that out throughout the game, that you put something down, you turn away and you turn back and it's not there anymore, sort of like you're almost giving that feeling. You can do
a bit of that. I think you'd maybe want to keep that till late game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely like playing with the players' perspectives.
What
and really
I
making
do
them
like
think
is
about
that you can put a little bit of it in there from the very start, but it's very subtle. So it's not like
it's nothing that needs to push the story along.
It's not like you put down the remote and you need that remote to open up the garage door or something like that. Like, you put it down, then when you walk back in later on, it isn't where you left it, but you're no longer looking for that sort of thing. Like, you're pushing the story along, but if you notice it, things are actually sort of skewed.
I think this is one of those games where you want people to play through it a second time knowing things and notice all of the subtle differences, and to like watch videos of the same scene from those 2 different perspectives, that in the game there'd be an hour between them or something, but of gameplay between them, but when you see them side by side, it's like, like you notice all those differences so much more clearly.
I'm remembering this has got nothing to do with games, but this is when we first watched Too Many Cooks for the first time. And how many things in that show, or in that 10-minute thing, that just, like, the more that you watch it, the more that you go, holy shit, they put that in there from the very start.
Do you know, and this is gonna seem like blasphemy, I don't think I've watched Too Many Cooks twice. I think I've only watched it once, ever.
Okay, so after this, we're going to watch it.
Sure.
I've watched Too Many Cooks so many goddamn times. It's just not funny. Like, I love that. If you haven't watched Too Many Cooks, watch it, and then watch it again and try to have a look back through and go, oh my God. And it's all the way through it.
Yeah. All right.
What are we doing this time? Your turn.
Something else. Look, let's do another movie.
3 to 1 movie.
That one came out really well, so. 2010's Marmaduke.
2013. I was going to say 2023. 2013's Concussion.
Oh, I don't know that one.
After a blow to the head, Abby decides she can't do it anymore. Her life just can't be only about the house, the kids, and the wife. She needs more. She needs to be Eleanor.
Oh. Okay. That sounds heavy.
Yeah. What's yours?
It's about a big-hearted, havoc-wreaking Great Dane called Marmaduke.
Guess what? Marmaduke has a concussion.
Thinks there's a human. It's an Octodad-style game where you play a dog.
Nah, I'm going to click again.
Yeah. Me too.
Ooh. 1986's The Hitcher. On a stormy night, young Jim, who transports a luxury car from Chicago to California to deliver to its owner, feeling tired and sleepy, picks up a mysterious hitchhiker who has appeared out of nowhere. Thinking that a good conversation will help him not to fall asleep, he will have enough time to deeply regret such an unmediated decision.
Okay. And I got 1989's The Punisher. Dolph Lundgren stars as Frank Castle.
Nice. Set in a fun park, if I remember rightly.
Is it? I haven't actually seen it.
Wait till you see what fun park it is.
Why?
I believe it's Luna Park.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's really funny.
I seem to remember that it...
Oh, it's Sydney Harbour Luna Park, though.
Yes. Sydney's Luna Park.
Sydney's Luna Park, okay.
Yeah. Either way.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Or at least it was... I don't think the whole movie was,
no, but part of it was filmed at Luna Park, so...
Oh, okay. It was all filmed in Australia, set in Seattle. But yes, okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's hilarious. There's like people from a country practice and stuff in it.
Yeah. Okay. Shootout at Coney Island, which was actually Sydney Harbour Luna Park. I like the idea of like a Punisher style game. Well, you're playing the Punisher, but everything kind of feels cardboardy, like, and not quite real. So it's got, cheap effects effectively, and
I do like the idea of somehow intentionally making a game feel like a 1989 movie with its just with the way the effects work. You occasionally see like stunt people get back up, and
whether it's like that or whether it's just like that effect didn't look quite right, and you're maybe playing the lead actor, or you're playing an extra.
I guess it's how do you make it not just look like a shitty, like, I think there's actually a lot of artistry to go into making it look like a shitty movie effects versus just shitty game effects.
Yeah. Okay, amazing game effects, but the fact that they look like a movie effect. That's how you do it.
Okay, one thing I really love is slight mistimings between guns going off and the squibs going off.
Yeah.
As you shoot people. Huge, like, over-the-top flips and stuff with explosions. You always got, like, the one person that's just, like, thrown up into the air.
Oh. It's got, like, an 80s synth soundtrack.
Yeah.
That's how you know that it's the 80s, because it's got neon everywhere.
So is this actually the Punisher then, or is this just... We'll just do generic 80s action?
I think generic 80s action, because I don't know enough about 89's Punisher. I know that Dolph Lundgren's in it, and maybe that's where we sort of go, well, we're going to actually cast Dolph Lundgren as like the lead actor in this.
All right. We cast Dolph Lundgren. Are you playing as Dolph Lundgren then? I think it's going to be hard to do this from another perspective.
Yeah, okay. I think
or unless you're his sidekick or something.
Ooh, I know. You play his stunt double.
How do you structure this from a game? I mean, obviously it needs to be clear. I do like the idea of essentially kind of like that game Stuntman. Was it Stuntman? Where it was...
I was actually... All that was in my head was that game Pain from the PS3 era that you used to have.
Yeah, I remember we had a good time with that like one day. It's definitely stuck in our heads.
Oh, yeah.
No, I was thinking no more... Because that was just very much physics-based violence. I think this is more a shooter, but along the lines of you can like do a run... And you can, you might do reasonably well during that run, But it's like, oh, I want to try to get a better score. And so it's just like, it's a reshoot. It's you just run it again. And the director goes, no, we need another one.
Ooh, now I'm picturing that you can, like, during a fight sequence, you know, you're having to hit the block and the punch and the kick at the right time and do all that sort of stuff. Because, you know, it's all about the choreography.
Yeah, I think you need to... You could do it in that way with QuickTime events and, like, you just have to make minimal mistakes, or...
I'm thinking it's like the music sort of thing that, you know, if... You know, you hit the other stunt guy in the eye, and he's now annoyed, so he's kind of changing up the timing slightly. It's all about...
Well, I think I'd want to try, though, to bring it into an actual fight system, not just sort of, you know, play through specific inputs. But you could do it that, like, in a similar way to, say, Batman Arkham games, where, you know, the little flashing thing comes above the head and if you hit Y, you'll block or whatever. Mm-hmm. You essentially have timing windows to block or, you know, to be able to hit them or whatever. And if you go slightly outside of that timing window, it actually just messes the scene up slightly. Like, yeah, you might accidentally actually hit the stunt double in the face when you were supposed to pull your punch.
So then he's now throwing punches, like, trying to hit you. So if you don't hit your block, then you're going to get hit in the face as well.
Yeah, maybe. And you can bring it back. Maybe you've even got a little meter of, like, how far off the actual choreography you are. But what it actually comes down to is you playing the game well, like you actually fighting well. And so you're not doing set moves, but it's more, the more mistakes you make, the closer you are to screwing up the scene. And yet you can have things like, you actually hit the stunt double, or it's just a complete swing and a miss because the stunt double's doing a different choreography and it just looks terrible.
And
there's only so much you can fit in post. Yeah. Basically, you dying, like your health running out. There's naturally no health. It's just that meter of the scene quality reaches a low enough point that the director calls cut.
Yep. And Dolph Lundgren looks at you disappointed.
Yeah. He's always there, like off to the side, watching you do your scenes. And then so in between, do you get Dolph Lundgren coming in to do like the dramatic, like the dialogue scenes and stuff?
I kind of like the idea that, you know, he's decided that he doesn't want to do all the action stuff anymore. He's just he's trying to do a turn as like a dramatic actor.
Dramatic, yeah.
While doing an action movie. And, you know, anytime that he can call for the stunt guy, and, you know, he basically does. But he's watching you, and anytime that you fail a scene, he goes, my character wouldn't punch like that. My character would be on time and do this. And
yeah, he's getting critiques from Dolph the whole time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think you've got... So the game I was bringing up before, I think it was Stuntman, where essentially you just had to hit marks at the right time, but you had like buildings falling down around you and stuff, and you had to do, you know, you have to come here and then do like a fucking handbrake turn and reverse up here or whatever.
I'm picturing that there will be a driving section in the game.
I think you have driving sections, but I think you take that same sort of idea of like, okay, you've got a shooting section. For good chunks of it, you can just be taking out bad guys. And obviously, if you are getting hit, like, again, the scene's going to look bad if you get hit too many times. But at certain points, you do have marks you need to hit. It's like, you need to get over to this point by a certain time because the big explosion is going to go off over here. And it's these big setups. And maybe you have to, like, you know, shoot a particular target or a particular person or something, or like they're holding someone hostage and you have to like do that perfect shot to hit them in the head over their shoulder or whatever within a certain time frame. Like you've got these moments, whereas the rest of the time it's sort of somewhat standard shooter-ish with, you know, the director yelling things out the whole time. And yes, like you shoot someone and if you're at the right angle, you'll see them like fall down onto a mat behind them.
Yeah.
Because you're not, like, the camera won't see that, but you might.
Oh, I just love the idea that you're running through, like, an office and you look off to the side just after you've kicked someone off to the side, and if you happen to turn around in first person, you see them land on the mat, get up and walk away sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, yeah.
I'm picturing one of the scenes, you're actually running through an office building, you jump out and you grab hold of a helicopter. But the idea is that if you jump out and the helicopter isn't quite there at the right time, you know, just before you hit the blades, they yell cut and you got to get dangled on the...
I do really like that idea of like jumping out a window or trying to hit the helicopter, but you don't get the timing right, and then all of a sudden if you look up in your character, you'll see like the harness, the ropes from the harness that previously you couldn't see, because I think it does cut to sort of. Oh yeah, I think when you're actually playing,
changes. Like
when you're actually playing, it's like you feel like you're in the movie, even though you do still see some of the side things and the mistimed squibs and stuff, but. When it yells cut, yes, do you think it switches out of like cinematic mode,
squib,
the black bars go away?
There's just something about that.
Well, maybe that can
shoot, and then 2 seconds later, squib.
Well, that could even come down to something like, again, like if you've been hit like 4 times in a row, and so you're really close to failing this scene. You actually up the difference between the firing and the squibs going off, because like that's how far off the mark you are.
Yeah.
So yes, you might hit them, but it takes 2 seconds before it goes off. And then at the end of any failed scene, it's like, you just cost this production $17 million for having to do this again.
And basically you get to the end and it totals up, this comes out of your pay.
You get to the end, you get to the final budget of the movie, and
you owe the movie $32 million.
Or at least just it's like, this movie's not going to make its money back, so you don't get anything on residuals or whatever it is.
I kind of like the idea that, if you were speedrunning the game, any percent is basically you don't owe any money to the
right.
Don't owe any money, but you didn't necessarily get any money back, and your 100% is you made all the money that you were promised in the initial contract.
So is that just like hitting every scene perfectly the first time?
Every scene perfect,
basically. Yeah. That's cool. That's really fun. 3, 2, 1, something.
What would you like to go over to?
Up to you.
Really? It's up to me.
It's up to you.
Ben, what 3 words?
All right, we're doing them all tonight.
Yeah, why not?
Knuckles reconfirmed microcomputer. So microcomputer definitely, again, makes me think of the 80s.
Yeah, BBC Micro.
Yeah,
Granny's Garden.
Granny's Garden.
We have talked about this before.
Oregon Trail, maybe. Did we have Oregon Trail on there?
No, I mean, we had... It was all Granny's Garden for us.
It was all Granny's Garden.
And bear in mind that we're talking 80s, but we experienced the wonder that is Granny's Garden in the 90s, because our school was so poor that they still had BBC Micros in the 90s.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, was that at... Were we still playing that? Because I definitely played that in primary school as well, though. So,
I didn't. But yeah, I played around with the logo a lot on an Apple IIe.
Yep.
Goddamn, I love logo. Logo was so cool. That's where I learnt about angles and all that sort of bullshit.
So, we set it in the 80s.
Yeah.
At least. It's got something to do with microcomputers. Knuckles and reconfirmed.
So Knuckles, I'm seeing this rather than being the Sonic character Knuckles. I'm seeing this as like something an 80s hacker who keeps on cracking his knuckles. That's his.
Oh, cracking the knuckles. All right, and that's him reconfirming his power,
it's
skills.
Like, I can do this. Crack 32 baud modem, hacking away. It's
like war games.
I'm getting war games, but on a BBC Micro.
Yeah, you've got
with
the
you've
got the modem that you like put the handset of the phone onto.
Yes, it's like freakers and all this sort of stuff. Like,
okay,
80s hacking game. I'm loving this already. I'm just loving the feel of this thing.
Now, to move away from the obvious. because we've done a lot of sort of hacking style games, is this an 80s hacking game where there's not actually any hacking as part of the gameplay, in that it's not around
press E to hack.
Yeah, basically. It's not around being on the computer and doing the actual hacking. It's more around the characters involved, and obviously there is hacking involved and your character hacks things, but the gameplay isn't, bounce things. I don't even know, like you said, in that day, there was no internet. It was more around, freaking and stuff where you'd be and using tones to, trick automated systems and social engineering. And
I see this as kind of almost a prequel to the awesome Sandra Bullock movie, The Net.
The Net.
This is called The Bulletin Board.
The BBS.
Yeah. The BBS. The Bulletin Board System. And it's all about you got onto the wrong BBS.
Ooh. You dialed one number incorrectly.
One number incorrectly. And now you feel like you're being chased by...
instead of finding shareware games and Simpsons quotes... No, it wouldn't be Simpsons quotes. It was Simpsons quotes for a while there.
Tom and Jerry quotes. There you go.
Tom and Jerry quotes. Flintstones quotes. What did they quote before The Simpsons? There was nothing, right?
The Honeymooners.
Nothing to quote. I Love Lucy. Download full episodes.
The Jetsons.
The Jetsons, yeah. Okay, but that does shift it back a bit more to bringing in some of that
mid-80s. Yeah.
Yeah, well, but gameplay-wise, into bringing a bit more of this sort of on-the-computer stuff. Like, what I was kind of saying is, maybe you don't have a lot of the on-the-computer stuff, even though it's set in that time. You don't necessarily
have to have the what-on-the-computer stuff there. You can sort of then have, the whole thing is that he feels like he's being followed. You don't necessarily have to have him being followed.
I guess you wouldn't have to have a lot of... that. I think, though, if you're doing that, you definitely want to have some scenes where you're seeing the, characters show up of the, ASCII art as you log into the BBS.
There's just something about, he's typing a whole heap of things and you see his fingers flying all over the keyboard and you just see L, O,
nothing.
G.
Just the variable speed of the characters coming up as they actually, make it across the 300 baud modem or whatever it is.
Oh, actually.
That's cool, though, because
I'm just wondering, is our hacker... a guy who types with two fingers, and so he's literally just typing in the number with one finger.
I think maybe he's like a 14-year-old kid.
So he's not doing the whole touch typing thing. He's just going... he's actually pressing the buttons really.
Maybe it's even a kid
really slowly.
Maybe it's even a kid accidentally finding their way into hacking and freaking via this BBS that they accidentally connected to. But then after they've been in there a while and they're starting to try out some of these techniques, they get that little message coming up that the sysop wants to talk to them.
The dreaded sysop.
Yeah, but then the sysop is super creepy and makes them think that they're after him. And knows stuff about him that they shouldn't know just from what he's put into the BBS.
Mm-hmm.
And that does lead more to external stuff outside of the computer itself.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that. What other sort of gameplay are you sort of seeing? Is this a 2D platformer?
Just to keep in with the style of games at the time. I kind of love the idea of a 2D platformer, but it's not most of the gameplay isn't platforming. It's still essentially an adventure game, but all of your movement is in 2D platformer style. So you're at your house and it's just a side-scrolling room and you can bounce up onto the bed and down, and you can go over and use the computer, and that's when you get your BBS screen. But then it's oh shit, I need to go over to my friend's house and tell him what's going on. And so, you go out the door and you're going along the street and it's all, platformer gameplay to just get over to your friend's place.
Mm-hmm.
Even with enemies and bouncing on things, but they're sort of just completely incongruous to this actual sort of more serious story going on. So, yeah, that's That's kind of fun, just for the fun of it, just to keep with the aesthetic. It looks like an old Apogee game.
Yeah.
If you try to go the wrong direction, like if you don't go to your friend's place and there's like a sign that points to, go into the city or something, it comes up with a shareware screen that says like buy episodes 2 and 3 to go this way.
That's awesome.
Cool. I like that. Yeah. And then I think you just, you resolve it. You resolve the story. We can't do everything and come up with the climax. Jeez. Do you think someone is after them? Or do you think it's just another 14... If it turns out to be just another 14-year-old kid.
Just another 14-year-old who,
just runs this BBS.
Yeah. But what you're seeing, what seems to be following you is, guys in black suits and all this sort of stuff, is literally just businessmen in black suits, and they just happen to be going to work.
Just playing with perspective again, like in our earlier one.
Yeah.
Cool. I think we've got time for one more. What do you want to do? All right, Trevor, what 3 words?
Lingo, bugle, jiggle.
Lingo, bugle, jiggle. That's my bugle sound.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, bugle makes me think of...
The army.
No, I was more thinking like the
Daily Bugle.
Kings and medieval, like the jesters and, I don't know, the king's court. Because I feel like there's like bugle players, announcing the king coming out or something.
I wonder whether we can take jiggle as juggle.
Oh.
And then you got a jester.
Yeah, I like a jester. Is this a sequel to our old, like, jester assassin game?
I don't remember that one. It's going back too far. My mind isn't ready for that.
No, we don't have to do that. What was your third word?
Jiggle.
No. Well, what was your first word? Lingo. Okay, is this around like the secret world of jesters, like, or the way jesters speak to each other, and what they go home to, or like what their life is like outside of the court?
I'm just imagining they go home and their their wife and children are all dressed in jester outfits and all this sort of stuff.
They all wear the hats with the bells on.
Yeah. And I think they speak very normally, and like there's no like funny business at home. It's just
you don't even
they're all
acknowledge,
dressed in the like no one comments on the fact that they're all dressed like jesters.
Yeah.
And they're just having normal conversations. But then when he goes into court, he's put on the funny voices, hey, kind of like a clown, but then goes home and it's very serious.
Yeah. But offset by the fact that any time anyone turns their head, you hear the little bells jingle.
Exactly.
So you have like these really serious conversations where like, you have to break the news to your wife that you haven't been doing a good enough job and the king is going to take one of your children or something to be his ward and be brought up in the town because you're not doing a good enough job. And so you have this really heartbreaking scene and your wife's there just sobbing, but like with every sob the bells jingle a little bit.
Oh God. I'm just imagining that he thinks he's as he's talking, he thinks, oh, maybe I'll say to her, no, I jest, like, and it's all about trying to make her feel better.
And she's like, well, not well enough, apparently. She turns to leave the room in a huff, and the bells just.
I mean, one of the things that we've learnt through doing impro, that status is a very important thing within a scene. I'm just imagining having to play like a jester where you actually have to give status to the king and all this sort of stuff, and if you don't revere him well enough, he.
Yeah, that's interesting. You could definitely have some scenes there where it's, essentially just comes down to dialogue choices and stuff, but you have to make sure that that you are subservient enough, essentially, that you are keeping him happy.
I'm imagining some of these conversations is sort of like he pulls you aside and says, well, Lewis, you've been my faithful jester here for many years, and I've always valued your
japery.
Your japery. I'd like to know how well you think I'm doing as king. And you tell him the truth, and he goes, well, I never.
Off with your head. Off with one of your tassels. I'm taking this.
I'm going to take one of your bells, so you can have it back at the end of the jangle. Day. You'll jingle when you go to the left and nothing when you go to the right. It'll just be dead.
Jingle no more.
You and your jingle jangle all the time, Lewis.
Now it's just going to be jingle. And I will laugh in the gap where a jingle would have been.
Jingle. There was no jingle.
So I do love that idea, though, of you have to, you set up these jokes and you give the player the option of multiple punchlines, and the funniest one cannot be used because the funniest one is always at expense of the king, or of the court in some way. And so it's this horrifying decision every time to make a less funny joke.
I mean, you're going through the options of what rhymes with thing, king. Damn it. It's the first thing you think of, and it's all these things that are just nasty to the king, and then you've got this horrible one that talks about
spring,
the spring,
the spring, like the season, the spring. Yeah. I like that you really set up. Yeah, you set up the player where you give them a number of punchlines, and all of them have a great rhyme that they cannot use without getting executed, essentially. That's awesome.
I'm now thinking that there's a line where it says something in between, which of course rhymes with queen, and everything that comes up is really, really dirty, nasty and dirty about the queen. And I was like, no.
Yeah, you give them 4 good punchlines about the queen, and then the last one has to be about steam. It's not even a good rhyme. No, that's good. And so I think then the king does take your child as their ward. Are you trying to win them back, or is that just a dramatic moment in this?
I think it's just a dramatic moment, and now it's what does the family do now that they're having
it's like Papers, Please, in that every time you finish a shift, it's like the king has taken another one of your children because you're not doing well enough. Bump, 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 bump. You have to choose between feeding yourselves and having your children go off to live in the castle.
Okay. Well, I think that's about it for tonight.
I think that might do it.
That hour went really quickly.
Yeah, always does, buddy. If you want to find us online, go to podchaser.com/bitstorm. Leave us a review. We'd really love that. And hey, share it on your socials and tell other people what you thought, because that'd just be great. That'd be cool.
If you like our opening theme and our closing theme, you can find that song, Mount Defiance, on the album Containment Failure by the awesome band Dust.
Yeah, if we do say so ourselves.
Just little disclaimer, I played bass. Ben sang on the rest of the album, not on that song, because
it's mostly no vocals.
There is some vocals, but it's done by our guitarist.
Yes.
And good friend.
So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott.
It looks like you're trying to end a podcast. Would you like some help?
Yes, please.
Oh, yeah, there you go. There's got to be something there. It looks like you're trying to end a podcast. Would you like some help? There you go. That's the one.